Welcome to the Runners World podcast with me, Rick Pearson.
And me, Ben Hobson.
This week we're talking race day tips and catching up with former British 400 metre star Perri Shakes-Drayton, who's taking part in this weekend's London Marathon.
This is like the last ditch, last stop, last hurrah of running advice before the marathon. Is that the best
Absolutely.
way? That's how we're serving it up.
11th hour advice for those suffering deep paranoia.
Yeah, but also 11th hour advice from not two people called Rick and Ben, but we're just going to paraphrase advice from Tom Craggs, who is a legit knowledge on this sort of stuff. So there you go.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it? Yeah, we're going with UK's top coach. That's what I always call him. I think that's right. So Ben, you've been abroad, you've been in Kenya, and you've come back offering these audio nuggets of gold. Tell us more.
Yes, yeah. So alongside this episode this week, our regularly scheduled Tuesday edition, there was an episode, a bonus one that came out a couple of weeks ago with Perri Shakes-Drayton, and now ahead of the London Marathon this week, we're talking to defending champ Amos Kipruptu, and I sat down with him when I was in Kenya, talked about his return to London, defending his title, how much he's looking forward to it. So there's going to be basically a bonus episode this week talking to Amos about everything marathon related, his training, and how much he just loves running. And that's coming up too. So that's just a bumper week, mate. Bumper week.
Oh, look out for it. Exactly. Well, it's marathon week, isn't it? It's
exactly.
only right.
Before we do tips, Rick, I think everyone should know, because you sound mildly coldy, but it's not, is it? You've got the Rona.
I had COVID last week, actually. Yeah, I had 2 bad days of it, and then in many ways it's a little bit like a marathon, Ben, in that you can forget how painful it is until you're going through it again. And I was a bit like, actually, this is actually really unpleasant. But yeah, I'm the other side of it now, and it's actually very nice to sort of begin to start to feel better again. You kind of really just sort of loving walking out in the garden today. It was just this is fantastic.
That is fantastic. Right, let's get, before we talk to Perri as well, because that's a great chat, and that'll be as podcast too. So if you want to just immediately throw your phone on the floor, actually don't throw it. If you want to switch from the podcast app to a video app like YouTube, then you'll be able to watch us talk to Perri. Or just keep listening. It's probably the best thing to do, because right now, super mega how to do your best marathon tips 3 days before you actually run.
Let's do this. So this is focused on the day itself, because as Ben has intimated, the time for training advice is gone.
Yep.
It's gone for this marathon journey. But this is about the day itself. So this is from Tom, and the first one is to take your time. So race day generally starts earlier than most people would like, and it's easy to start worrying about the night of sleep that you have before the race. Mm-hmm. Don't worry about that. Everyone has a bad night's sleep before the race, even the greatest marathoner in the world. Oh. When Kipchoge ran his sub 2 hour marathon, he only got 5 hours sleep to power that. So if you end up with only 2 or 3, don't worry, because you're following in the footsteps of the greats doing that. The one thing not to rush is breakfast. To do build in enough time so you're not wolfing down breakfast in 5 minutes.
Yes.
Allow sort of 20 to 30 minutes for that, and do that maybe 2 or 3 hours before the race itself. If you eat nice and slowly, you'll digest your food better and probably find you can eat a little more, which may be useful later.
That is good.
Tip number 1.
Straight out the door. Here we go. Tip number 1. Tip number 2. Save your legs. All right. So you've got to think about the day as a whole here. You've got plenty of miles to warm up, so don't worry about an extended warm up before the race. Utilise the public transport system. Get there. Don't spend too much time on your feet. Rest up as much as you can. A couple of minutes of gently jogging before the race. Check your lacings are comfortable, and mentally preparing that you're ready. That's kind of enough. You don't need to be 10 minutes of 10 minutes of intervals to try and
strides down in Blackheath for this.
Staying cool during the race can aid your performance, so don't overdress. Start cold. Be bold, start cold.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, and dress for the second mile was another favourite.
Oh, that's a nice one. So all the hats, gloves, arm warmers can easily be removed, and long tights and sleeves cannot. So if you are cold and you are like one of those people who just cannot function if the cold gets to you, then think about things that can be removed and discarded if that's going to be necessary. But we've checked the weather actually. because we know we're high caliber journalists, and we Googled it, and the Met Office have said that it's going to be, for the mass start at 10, it's going to be about 9 degrees, feels like 7, which I would say is perfect.
Perfect racing weather. I'm going to go to stick to your plan now.
Yes.
Which is use a pace band. You can collect these at Expo. I think it's a Lucasade stand is always where the pace bands are handed out, and you can check your mile sprints against the markers on course, and that can be more accurate than solely relying on your GPS reading. So that is a really good tip, I think, because if you're going on your watch thinking, oh, I've done a mile in 7:30. Oh, wait a sec, but the mile markers doesn't work with that. Well, your race time is going to be about where the mile marker is on the race. So definitely getting one of those bands on your wrist. Make sure it tallies with what's on your clock. That's a goodie.
So another hot tip is to find a running group of buddies. So halfway point, you've done a lot of work and you've probably had to manage your effort getting through the first few miles, just making sure you don't go too quickly and all those sorts of things. So you get halfway and you kind of now is a good time to find it easier to deal with the middle miles between mile sort of 13 to mile 20, because mile 20 onwards you're just going to go all in whatever you can do. So those middle bits, trying to find a group of runners that is running at a similar pace. Now this doesn't have to be a verbal deal being made. This is like an unspoken thing that you can just kind of sit, you find yourself casually running along someone who's managing the same sort of pace. It can help you to just tick along with them and to sort of manage your efforts. Don't run you have to run your own race. That's very important here, but it is quite good to just sort of take a moment to just go, well, these guys seem to be doing the same thing as me. I'm just going to hold it here for a little bit. And it does help that little middle section to sort of like get through the tough 13 to 20 mile bit. Definitely running with others. And as you say, by that point, people in and around you are hopefully going to be about the same ability, aren't they? So you can have some confidence that you're running with people on a similar trajectory. But there will be a rise in effort. So you need to become comfortable with the fact that the latter part of a marathon will be uncomfortable. And that's normal. But it's also easy to start talking yourself out of the race at this point. So maybe turn your watch around and work to perceived effort. So how hard you feel that you're trying in the second half. You've got a rhythm now. You should be into a sense of, where you're at with your running, how you're feeling. Center in on what your body's doing and not necessarily just what your watch is saying, which I think that's good. I think it's a little bit reiterating the point we already made, but I think concentrating more on how your body is feeling rather than just what your watch is telling you can be useful when it gets to the business end of marathon racing. Absolutely. Prime example. Joe Mackey, as part of our Joe Mackey, our esteemed Runners World colleague, ran the Landmarks Half for us the other week, and he listened to his watch too much, by his own admission, and was running really nicely, but kept looking at his watch thinking, "Oh, I'm going to be going too fast," and he wasn't, and he had a great race, and he sort of finished going, "Should have probably just ignored my watch a little bit more." So there you go. The feel is kind of important. The two need to be working symbiotically. Don't let one govern the other, I think, is probably the main thing. I mean, that's right, man, isn't it? Yeah, because it's not as if, like, sometimes, obviously, if your watch has said, well, you're meant to be running 8-minute miles here, and you're doing 6:30. You're throwing down 6:30. Yeah. Like, then I think the watch is really, worth listening to. But yeah, it's there's a limit to it. Right. And talking of limits, the race begins at 20 miles. Everything else is just transport to that point. So this is where it gets tough. This is where you need to really just knuckle down, and you've got to kind of almost prepare yourself for that disproportionate amount of mental and physical effort that you're going to be putting yourself through. But I think this is where the sort of mental stuff really, the sort of mental preparation really kicks in. You need to almost embrace that that's going to happen. If it doesn't happen, that's even better. Great, well done. You've absolutely nailed it. Yeah. Kudos, because that's like you're having the perfect race. But there will be moments, normally around mile 20. It could be before, could be after. But there is that moment when everything will suddenly become very hard. But you need to just remember that this is why you lined up in the first place.
Exactly. That's it.
This is it. This is, you knew it was coming. It's time to just embrace it and just crack on.
And then finally, race it home. So even at the end, the final few miles, it's still a race. And remembering that helps you push through the final mile or two to the finish. Pick a vest 20 or 30 metres ahead and see if you can reel the runner in, and then pick another. See if you can pull others along with you too. And from Ben and I, good luck.
Huge amounts of luck, because that does also play a role. But there's nothing we can do about that. So yeah, it'll be a great day for you, and it will also be a great day out for our guest, yes. Perri Shakes-Drayton, who joined us to chat about her first marathon, why she's run in London, doing it to raise money for charity, but just also she just, you know, as when we always talk to former athletes of whatever level, runners or someone who's specialized in a certain distance or, you know, some sort of activity, there's always that underlying sense of a sort of competitiveness or a desire to sort of challenge themselves, and that comes across with Perri. It was a great chat. She's a great big positive force when it comes to sort of why she takes on these challenges and how she's been enjoying her running. So a great chat.
Guest of the week, here in the studio. Guest of the week, sometimes on the phone. Could be an athlete, could be a physio, or a complete unknown.
Welcome to the podcast, Perri.
Thank you for having me.
So we are really intrigued about your running because you're a 400-meter hurdler, brilliant runner, Team GB runner, but now...
And then 400 metres.
400 metres as well.
Hurdles, 400.
The
Let's not miss out the big bit of the 400 metres.
And now then the marathon, which isn't something that you would associate necessarily with a kind of 400-meter runner. So how has this happened?
Well, first of all, I love a challenge.
Yeah.
Second of all, some people may not know, I actually started off as a distance runner.
Didn't know.
Yeah, right. So
Rick, that's 10 seconds we spent on Wikipedia this morning has not... Yeah.
That is how I was first introduced into athletics. So that was through primary school.
Yeah.
As you do sports day and stuff. But then my teacher was like, I think you should try cross country. And I was very keen, you know. Done the cross countries, you know. I done a mini marathon, which is 2.6 miles.
Yeah.
So in terms of long distance running, I'm not really afraid of it, but I know a marathon is a load more miles compared to that as a child. Yeah. But I don't mind distance running.
That's interesting. So it's almost like a return in some ways to like the way, like how you started.
Or there's certainly there's like a small bit of familiarity with just going further than because when we've spoken to like athletes who've come from like a short distance, maybe middle distance, whatever, sprinters, and they talk about running further. It's alien, like completely, like none of their training, like even in the most would run 5K or something like that sort of stuff. So it's interesting. You've got like you can just know what beyond 3 miles you're all good. Like you. And
also like when I was training specifically for the 400 meters hurdles, I actually had to go above distance, and I would go for 5K runs, do park runs and things like that.
Right. Okay.
Because you have to have like obviously your distance, you then speed endurance. I'll do a bit of 800s, and then there was times I do 60 meters. So it was an all rounder. Being a 400 meter athlete, I feel like you got all rounder. And I was like, if this what needs to be done to be the best in the world, I'm gonna do it. Now, okay, obviously I've retired. Hung up my spikes, and I was like, I want another challenge. And I always said whilst I was competing, one day I'm gonna do a marathon. And I've decided this year I'm going to do it.
How big a deal is it that it's the London Marathon? Because obviously you grew up in London.
Yes.
So you presumably knew the race, did the mini marathon already. So it's like
I mean, London, obviously born and raised, and I feel like it's a beautiful city. Don't get me wrong, I grew up in East London, and they actually do run through East London. And when I was a child, I used to be on the side handing out water bottles to the runners.
Wow!
And that I used to do that that was a yearly thing for me and my cousins. You know, we'd be at my granny's and we'd run down to the street, and we used to get excited, and we would hear there would be like a host like calling out people running. Maybe there was someone in a wearing an outfit or something, or they'll call out someone's name, and I feel like everyone coming together on the street, encouraging that person, that was something that I really enjoyed, and seeing a runner just take my bottle of water, that got me excited. Thought I'm doing my little bit, and that's kind of continued, you know. Even as I've not been able to take my son yet because obviously we had the lockdown situation, and then there was one in October. I missed that, and I was like, no, it's back in April. What it originally was, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a part of it.
Quality.
When was the decision made then, and how's it gone? How's the training? When did you suddenly sign up and go like, right, I'm doing this?
I actually signed up. I think it was in November. I was like, okay. First, I need to find a charity because I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know about this ballot. I didn't know that people maybe signed up previously and never made it. Yeah. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to have to find a charity. And I did. So I reached out to Tommy's. So I'm running for Tommy's charity. And basically, the reason why I chose those guys is because I have a story to share that I had an ectopic pregnancy. I didn't know nothing about an ectopic pregnancy going through it. I was like, sorry, some awareness needs to be made for this. And if it means me telling my story and raising money and doing something that I love, I feel like it's a perfect opportunity. So I'm actually enjoying the training, funny enough. It's like, because sometimes I feel like to switch up the training is good to change where you train.
Okay,
Like, obviously, I started off doing smaller distances, so it started with like 30 minutes runs, and then it went to 40. And now if you told me 70-minute run or 2 hours, I'm like, no, that's short. Because the most I've done is 19 miles.
Yeah, nice. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so that was on the weekend, actually, I done that. I'm sore now. But I recovered and I done a run this morning. But it's just like, I feel like it brings me joy, running. As much as when I was competing, I said, once I retire, that's it, I'm done. I'm done with athletics. But I've not seen a track. I've not seen a track. It's just that I just run on the streets and I kind of take everything in. I have my music playing. I have my brother running beside me because he's also running a marathon for another charity, autism. And it's just like, that's brought us closer together as well. You know, it's just like, I think there's more to it to get to that start line. I feel like I've got it's something that I grew up being a part of, being that little girl on the side of the road, and then aspiring to be there. And it's like, now I just want to get to that start line and kind of just finish it, really.
Oh, that's great.
I find it...
That's great.
So when you were competing and training as an athlete, you talked about the joy then that you get from running these longer distances and being out and sort of... Was there a joy in there when you were training, or was it like, I'm good at this and I've got to get it done?
Yeah.
And the difference now between like longer distances and just generally enjoying running?
So when I was competing, it was like, this is a job. I have goals that I want to achieve. I need to run a certain time. I need to lift a certain amount of weight. And it was like, if I don't get up and train, then I'm not going to be the best. A lot of pressure was on me. That's how I felt. Did I enjoy it? Not all the time, I'll be honest with you. The sessions hurt. Someone asked me the other day, what is easier, training for 400 meter hurdles or the marathon? Gonna say the marathon. And why I say it, if you know what lactic acid is, I don't wish that on anybody. It's horrible. You can't breathe, you can't see. It's just, you don't want to sit down, you want to stand up, you don't know what to do. There's no quicker way of getting rid of it. You know, you just kind of fight through the pain. I don't have pain or when I'm running, soreness when I'm finished, when I'm doing my long runs. But it's a decision that I've made. I feel there's no pressure on me. And people have seen it, oh wow, she's actually taking it seriously. It's not like I decided I'm going to run the marathon and I'm just going to turn up on the day. You know, I got myself a coach. Actually, I'm working with a coach who writes me a program. He works for Nike. Lloyd. Yeah.
Former guest.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been on.
He's been on a couple of times.
No, he's been good. I mean, I don't see him one-on-one, but he'll send me my program. I go on the phone, and it's my choice if I want to get it done or not.
Right.
And I give him feedback. That is how I wanted it, and I've been keeping up with it. And also, I must say, if I feel like I'm sore and need more recovery, I make that decision, and he understands that. And I feel like that's come from experience as being an athlete.
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, when I was competing, I think I was more like, oh no, I'm going to get through this. And now I'm like, let's just be sensible.
Yeah.
This is the Runner's World podcast.
It's really interesting what you say about the kind of pain difference between 400 metres and the marathon, because I said this to the Runner's World team a while ago, and I was like, 5K can definitely be harder than a marathon. It just depends how you run it. And 400 meters or a mile can be as difficult. It's just the intensity of pain is so great in those. And I think it gets underestimated, actually.
Yes. You're exactly right. Like,
We shut him down when he said that.
Yeah,
by the way.
no, honestly, you run your best mile and tell me after that.
Yeah, it's true.
Thank you, because it's requiring some speed in there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not the speed that I would run 400 meters is not the speed I'm going to run a marathon. Yeah.
Oh, well, I thought we had breaking news here that we were going to like.
Someone done that calculation. Like, so how fast can you run 400 meters? Well, let's work that out.
50. What's PB?
Stop.
Yeah.
It's not happening. It's not happening. So it is a lot different.
Yeah.
I think that's
interesting. Have you been like surprised how much you've enjoyed marathon training? Because a lot of people would be like, marathon training is a slog, but talking to you, it's like there's this great positivity about it.
Yeah, it has surprised me, even down to like the amount of miles that I've ran.
Yeah.
A lot of these routes that I'm taking, I would usually drive there, and now I can say, oh, I've run that route.
Yeah.
And I think it also brings me joy when I'm running along and I see somebody else running. And I'm like, wow, you picked yourself up, got out of your bed and decided to go for a run. And I'm that runner who just like give them the head nod.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, well done, that bit of encouragement. Even though some people give me some looks like, you know.
Oh, it's funny. You can never tell.
Yeah, you know why you can't tell? You don't know how long they've been running for. You don't know when they started.
They're mile 17 of 23. They're like, stop nodding at me. Yeah,
we need those T-shirts, don't we? Those sort of smart T-shirt that says how far you've run, how far you're running for. It's perfect. Because you're right. Yeah. Where do you run, Perri? Do you run? Like, have you got like a favourite place to run? Do you try and mix it up?
I try and mix it up. So I run around my area. That's one. So I'll go. I'm often I run like along the dual carriageway, so it's a bit like those are cars and you have cars tooting me, you know, encouraging me like. And then sometimes I've been down to central London.
Yeah.
So I've run from like Bow.
Yeah.
All the way up to
The good canal route.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've done that as well. I've done Greenway.
Yeah.
I've done went up to central London, Embankment, up to Battersea, National History Museum,
Nice.
Hyde Park, Oxford Street.
But it's exploring, right?
I've discovered places that probably if I was on the train or you know, driving, I wouldn't have seen. You know, so
The Greenway's amazing.
lovely, quiet.
Perfect for running on.
Yes.
I ran down it the other day and I was just like, this is untouched and it's like dead straight. You don't know where you're going.
Perfect.
Yeah,
No traffic.
No, it's great.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's good. I think that's it. I think we talk about, especially when people like go on holiday and stuff, like you get somewhere new, the best way to look around a place is to get running shoes on and go and have a little run around. And I think that people don't quite get it, even in your own town, like where you live. Like
Totally.
the further you go, you suddenly get that sense of just like, could have driven that, didn't.
Yeah.
Explored, had a little run around. I think it's great. That's what one of those things that marathon training kind of brings is that enforced miles thing.
And you mentioned about like holidays and stuff. I've actually been on holidays whilst doing the training.
Oh, right.
So I would like, all I need to do is bring my trainers along with me and then bring some lycras. No, that's lightweight.
Yeah.
And like, I went to Spain, you know, and I was running and that was in warmer conditions. I went to Grenada, very hilly conditions. So it's like, oh, I'm getting different types of like terrain and stuff, you know. And I'm like, I didn't even plan this, you know. It's
good.
like, but I'm still been able to continue my training.
Totally.
That's what I love. And also, I must say, as well as the running, I have actually been doing some strength training. Yeah,
Crucial.
It's not just running that I'm doing,
No.
and that's the case of I have a history of like knee injury.
Yeah.
So that also surprised me. I thought I wouldn't be able to get through this because my knee.
Yeah.
You know, I had a surgery on my knee back in 2013. And odd times I'll get a bit of pain, especially when it's cold.
Okay. Yeah.
So I know though I need to strengthen my legs up and around that area in order to make sure that knee's kind of like.
Oh, you're talking to two
protected.
people with bad knees. Don't worry about it.
So the fact that I'm able to get through these long runs with someone with a history of a bad knee, I'm like, I'm surprised myself. And now I'm doing that program myself. So I'm like, well done, Perri. You know, keep that up. And that's a break also from just the running. Like, and I also thought, and when I started the program, I was like, I won't be doing all those runs. I'm going to probably jump on a bike or something like, because you know, there's alternatives.
Ellipticals or whatever.
No, I haven't been.
Just all runs.
Runs, yeah.
Quality, yeah.
So
Praise off. I think that's interesting. I think obviously as an athlete you have to do a lot of power. Certainly for the 400, you're probably lifting quite big stuff.
Yes.
And then now you can kind of like know what you need to do.
Yep.
The education from that training kind of kicks in, and you know that the importance of being able to lift and keep strong, and how that, you know, means you can keep running those miles.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
How about footwear? We always ask people about the shoes they're wearing.
Yep. I've been trialing and testing trainers. I really have, because, and so I wear Nike.
I noticed you've got the Invincible 3 on your feet right now.
Yeah, and that's just to walk around.
Right.
Not running in them. No.
Too soft.
Too soft, and then they've got a bit of a heel. So I've had to change a lot. I've also had to gone up in size.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah.
Allow for foot movement to happen, because you don't want your trainers like spikes.
Tight.
I want them tight, comfy.
Yeah, right.
No, not for marathon. I've gone up in size. I feel comfortable. It's more like more flatter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So.
And have you got yourself a race day?
Right. So I feel like I need to wear them in a bit. I feel I haven't touched them yet.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna put them on.
Yeah.
Maybe next week, because I don't want to put a brand new pair of trainers on. Don't think it will make sense.
No, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Wear
Avoid
them
that.
in a bit.
Wear them in a bit. Definitely.
Yes.
So we were looking at other Olympians who'd gone, like, who from a shorter distance, who'd done a marathon. And we were like, obviously, Kelly Holmes did it, 3:11, pretty punchy effort.
Right.
I mean, Kelly's a good runner. You and Thomas, 3:58.
Okay.
There are others, but have you thought about a time yourself where you're like, or is it's your first marathon, isn't it? So maybe it's difficult to put those sort of time expectations. But obviously, you're training well.
But you do have to submit a time on your application.
Yeah, right.
When you register.
Yeah.
So I said 4 hours, and I want to change to 4.5, because I was like, when I was training, I was like, this is hard.
Yeah.
I've got
You'll be all right, because you can move back. You can't move forward at the start. That's the key.
true.
So you can go as slow. Like if you're in wave whatever it is for your time, you can just keep going backwards. That's fine.
Oh, yeah.
You just can't go forwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So you're good.
And I mean, I've got my brother running with me,
Right.
and he's nowhere near as like athletic as me.
Okay.
But I must say I'm impressed by him.
Yeah.
Because he's a smoker actually, and I think if he didn't smoke, he would be a lot better.
Sure, yeah.
But he keeps up with me. But I know I don't want to leave him. So my thing is just.
You got to get around. Yeah.
I'm like, I'll stick with him because he's going to need that motivation. So I'm going to stick by his side.
There's also more important things, right?
Yeah.
Like people do chase times and all that sort of stuff, but I think that certainly with London, you can see it's such a massive raiser of money for charity.
Yeah.
It's a huge community thing, and it kind of like brings London together. And then you say, like, if you've got someone that you can run with and make that day better for both of you, that's the biggest thing that you
And
can.
also, I also told a lot of my family and friends to come down and support me. So I think
Hand
I
out
will
water.
So I think I'll probably stop, say hello. So that's going to kill off some time. You know what I mean? Take a picture.
Oh, you got
I
it.
really want to enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I'll be doing it again. I say that though.
Sounds like it's going all right.
I say that I wouldn't do it again. I mean, there's other.
I think you could.
cities.
I
There's
think you
other
could.
cool cities. You know that.
There's all the majors, right?
Yeah, I know.
I was going to ask you. I mean, has this kind of, because you've enjoyed marathon training and it's shown you a different side to running, probably. Do you feel now that actually you will run? It would be part of your life for a very long time.
Because I said to myself, because I think my husband said to me, so what are you going to do once it's finished? And it's true, because I have had to wake up and start my day with runs, early runs. And it's just a bit like, okay, so what will happen after? More likely I will keep it up.
Yeah. Routine.
Yeah.
How has it been to routine being a mum? How's that? Because obviously before training as an athlete, everything's laid out for you.
Yes.
Now, obviously married, children. Do you, like
Right,
the juggle.
The juggle. The first thing is, right, when I try and escape and leave the house early, my son wakes up. I've left him sleeping. He's like, Mummy? I'm like, you were just sleeping. I'm like, right, I'm calling my husband, like, Mike, like, see to him. But I'm not even like that. I'm just like, bring your breakfast. So I do all of that. I could have snuck out the house, but I'm like, no, he needs to be changed.
Yeah,
I've got to
do
give
that.
him his breakfast before I go out and do my run. And then once he's all settled, I'm like, over to my husband. I try and get it done early as possible because I know I've got the rest of the day to be with my son. He definitely is the priority. It's like you say, I could have been leaving the house early to go and do my run, but if he's woken up, I'm like, I've got to see to him. When I do my weight and strength training, he usually wants to get involved. And he's there, like, oh, he thinks it's a game.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
see me doing some exercises, and he thinks it's a game. Like,
I get bundled on.
Yeah.
If I'm on the
yeah.
floor, like doing dead bugs or
Yeah,
like with a band on, trying to strengthen something, and you just get piled on
Yes,
straight away. That's it. That's on the floor. Get him.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like the plank looks like a tunnel to my youngest.
Yeah.
He's sort of underneath.
That's what he does.
Yeah.
That's what my son says. Tunnel?
Yeah.
And he got the car, he's got his car coming through. I'm like, oh, this is not
I
the
try.
time.
I've tried to utilise them as much as possible. So with the plank,
lovely, yeah.
they can climb on, and then that's like harder.
Yes,
So then there's
extra
more
weight.
of a rep there. So
Yeah.
you kind of, but then they get off. It's actually I'm going to fall over. Like, come on. And then and then like the squatting with them.
Yes,
Oh, that's
yeah,
good.
that one's a good
They
one.
can climb on the back, and
Yes.
then you can do all that. So
I can
it's
put him on his
they're
shoulders
they're
usually.
quite
Put them
useful.
to use.
They're quite
Exactly.
useful. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, if people want to find out more about your marathon journey and just you in general,
Yes.
where should they go?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at it's PSD. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on TikTok also.
Great.
Go.
Oh, sorry, my Twitter is at Shakes-Drayton. My TikTok is also it's PSD. And then also, I have a page for raising money for the charity Tommy's. That's just giving. And if you type in my name,
Yeah.
you'll find me.
Nice.
And I'm on YouTube. So basically, I'm on social media.
Amazing.
You'll
Just
find
Google
me.
it. Just Google it. We'll be good. Yeah.
Thanks so much for your time, Perri, and coming on the podcast, talking about your running. I think it's really inspiring what you're doing, and very best of luck at London later this month.
Thank you very much, guys.
I think it'll be great.
Thank you.
Perri, that's brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you.
Great chat.